Should be good.
What's that?
Should be good. Yeah, change the. Let's change the title.
There, it says you're live.
Can you see anything?
Yep, you're live now.
Just live? This is that? Okay.
Yep, just 7:15 within the last 45 seconds.
All right, perfect.
Does the scoreboard show? Scoreboard shows.
Oh,
Look at you go. Got to have scores on the top here. Look at this.
my technology is to save them. This is them all the time.
That's, yeah.
That's nice.
We'll see. Hopefully that works. It worked. It worked good.
She won and won Graham. That's impressive.
Test 1, 2, 3. Test 1, 2, 3. We're about 5 minutes away from starting. The 1-1 game will probably get an early start because they didn't have to do the draw to the button. Good evening, curling fans. We're streaming live from the Altona Curling Club, bringing you the Manitoba U18 Provincial Curling Championship. I'm Dennis Friesen, and I'll be hosting you and providing the commentary on the games. It's been a while for me, maybe 35 years since my last time in front of a microphone in this way, so bear with me. While the preliminaries are over, the round robin has been completed, and after tallying the wins, the losses, the records between the teams that are tied, and even having to go to the draw to the button totals to break the ties, the survivors have advanced to the playoffs and are in the hunt for the top prize. A U18 championship, which is on the line. The top prize also includes a trip to the Canadian National Championships in Ontario, in Timmins, Ontario, and a little piece of immortality by having your name listed on the website of Curl Manitoba alongside previous champions such as Altona's Mackenzie Zacharias, who won it a record 3 times in a row. Tonight we will be taking in the women's playoffs, and the way it's set up is the first place teams from each pool, those being St. Vitel's Grace Beaudry from Pool A and Altona's Dana Wall from Pool B, will battle it out with the winner advancing straight to the final and also getting one of those 2 berths available to the Canadian Championship. That will be our feature game. We'll also be keeping check on the 2 versus 2 matchup, and that's Team Hayward from Carman against Karis Buchalter, curling out of West St. Paul. The winner of that game advances to the semifinal to play the loser of the Beaudry Wall game, while the loser of the 2-2 match will be eliminated. So there's plenty on the line tonight. The motivation will be high, but in curling, you need to use that extra incentive to increase your focus and keep the emotions in check. The games are underway, and we're just finishing off the lead stones here. Right now it's Hildebrand for Team Wall, and they already have one in the house. We'll take a look at that. I'll try to toggle between the cameras so you have a better idea of what's going on. There is a delay between the camera sometimes when it switches over, so if you see a black screen for a little while, do not try to change anything on your end. It will adjust from our end. So we'll take a look at the situation at the away, and there's probably a little bit of a pause here. And it should come on soon. And there you see it. That's what Wall has. 2 rocks in the house lined up. One on the top of the 8 and one nicely just biting the button, but hittable. So Beaudry will be looking to eliminate at least one of these stones, possibly 2. Throwing lean stones for Beaudry is Tessa Terrick. And she eliminates 1 and rolls off to the side, so the shot rock remains. And so this will be Wall trying to keep the rocks apart from each other to avoid the double. Probably both teams not too upset if it's a fairly clean end without anything in front, but that could easily change. So this is Ginters now for Team Wall, the second. Anna Marie Ginters makes a takeout and rolls in on top of the 8. That's also going to be a tough double, so Beaudry's electing to hit the shot rock, maybe getting a chance to roll partially behind the one at the top of the 8. And this is Lauren Evison with the shot. Looks to be pretty well on line, maybe a little on the inside. Now it's actually curling very hard. And it just stays hanging on in the 12-foot. That one broke very hard at the end. It looked like she had a good shot, but then it faded away early. So here's Ginters again. So I didn't exactly see the call. Looks like they're possibly going for a guard. They have a house or a rock that's in a good position. They might be looking to try to promote that one. Let's take a look. It's coming in there. I'll switch over to the other camera so you have a better view of that. They do end up promoting it a little bit. It's in a good position right now, but the double is available as those rocks are fairly close together, and that's what Beaudry's going to call for. So going for the double, looks like it's on the inside, maybe close, but just misses getting the back rock. Basically just a little off nose. And so again, Wall remains counting 2. And the game on sheet 1 between Bookalter and Hayward just getting underway, as they were a little bit behind because they actually had to do the draw to the button to see who has the hammer. In this situation here, Beaudry had the better record at 4-0, and so she automatically received the hammer. Well, she could have taken a choice of rocks as well, the color, but she chose the hammer. So they still counted 2. You can see the blue rock underneath. So they were looking to guard, but that guard over curled by quite a bit. And now this rock is available with some soft weight, but a tough shot given these conditions, as it curls fairly hard. So weight is important, is as important as line. This one looks like it's pretty good. They're sweeping it to curl a little bit. Now it comes in and removes the rock and rolls off to the side. And as a little bit of a bonus, it rolls up against the wall rock that's in the 12-foot. There you see it. Right over on top. So that's a big shot. Big bonus to get the shot on top. And now Wall is going to be looking at it over, and let's see what she calls. Something on the right-hand side, perhaps. Or, nope, play a hit off the front one and maybe hope to roll in either direction. So she rolls to the right, then there will be a catcher that Beaudry will have to contend with. And it looks pretty good, and there's the hit and the roll inside. And it rolls half buried under the front guard. So Beaudry elects to go after it. And looks like it's going to be making contact for sure. Rolling to the right or to the left. And let's see if it stayed in. I've got a few people in front of me. It did stay in. Let's see if we can give you a better look of that angle. Looks like they're counting 2. That Beaudry is counting 2. There you see the roll. Yes, definitely counting 2. And now Wall will have to try to get at least one of those removed. The back one, the one that's actually shot, looks like it could be removed fairly easily. It'll be out. But the question is whether the front one, the top one, is going to be able to spin away or not. You have to throw out a lot of weight at this if you want to get them all moving. But at this point, a hit and staying on top of the rock that she's contacting there on the tee line, that would be good enough as well. Out-turn hit. Looks to be playing control weight. It's out there. Now it's starting to move. Will make contact. Looks like a fairly good result. Let's see. I have to look at that. It looked like it definitely moved one out of there. So let's take a look. See if that one on the side is actually hanging on or not. No, it did not hang on. So great shot by Dana Wall, eliminating all 3 stones and sitting her out for shot. She must have hit that just right because it looked initially that she would require a lot of weight to get them all moving. but she did not. She hit it just perfectly. So Beaudry will remove that stone. Easy call to make in terms of strategy-wise. But it looked like it was setting up very well for her till that magnificent shot by Wall to get them out of trouble. After a couple of good hit and rolls by Team Beaudry for sure. Waiting for the curl. Definitely going to make contact. Looks like it's going to be a nose hit. And Beaudry now sits one. As I switch to the overhead camera, you get to see an instant replay, I guess. There it is. Kind of looks like it came out of nowhere like they do at Star Trek sometimes, but all right, and now Wall will try to do that repeat. Just do exactly the same shot that Beaudry did. Electing to go with the out-turn hit. Generally, this is the turn that would curl a little bit more when you're going from the center to the wings. Looks pretty good. They're on it pretty hard now because it'll curl hard. Really, she needs to get at least a piece, and that she's got for sure. And rolls it to the side, which actually makes it maybe a little bit more annoying right there where it is. We'll have to take a look at those angles to see if there's a possibility of catching onto that side yellow and making it difficult to blank. Yes, there definitely is. So situated quite well in terms of the turnout for that one and making it a little bit of a pesky rock for Beaudry to deal with. So Beaudry will want to hit this on the outside part and roll away and blank the end. So she's electing to go with the in turn, which will be the straighter of the turns. Okay, here's the delivery. Sweepers are on it. Might be catching the inside. Looks like it will definitely hit on the inside of the rock. And it does make contact with that side rock as well. And we'll have to see where they end up. I've got a couple of players in front of me. Not sure exactly. They took them away before I had a chance to see what happened. Maybe we can see it on an instant replay again. Here we go. Here's our second shot at it. There, you see it. Oh, that's kind of funny. Just kind of disappears on you. So we'll wait to see what the scoreboard shows. But she hit it on the inside, and that meant that it stuffed onto the side rock. It looked like both of them were rolling through the house, but sliding through the house. But it's not sure from our perspective as to which one is shot. I think if Beaudry's stayed around, then hers would have been shot because she was higher in the house. And that is what happened. Beaudry counted one. So good start for both teams. Wall won't be too unhappy that she has the hammer and had the force. And Beaudry has one on the board. Sure. Okay. So Beaudry has the lead rocks now. That's about as high as I can get it. That's about as high as I can get it. I'll try to speak closer to the mic. Or louder. All right, so Beaudry electing to go in the house. Probably was calling for a center guard, but a little bit heavy in this one. And it goes to the back of the house instead. So Wall electing to go for the hit. Both teams a little bit tentative or reluctant to get super aggressive at this point, and that makes sense. You want to get comfortable with the ice and comfortable with your shot making before you try to force the issue. And there's no need to force it right now. it's only 1-0. This one is just missing. Just missing. Again, that's the heavy curl that happens even on a lighter control weight kind of hit. So you have to be aware. Most of these teams are. They have curled here all week, and they also know that they have to have a decent rotation on the rock in order for the rock to stay true and not to get caught up too much by the curl. Baudry calling for another rock and play. Looks like it's going to be heading into the house. They probably wouldn't have minded a guard in front, but it's going all the way to the tee line. And now nuzzles up near the other back one, which would put a double in play. So we'll take a look at the overhead camera so you can have a look at how this is set up. This is Hildebrand now with the takeout. It's pretty close. She gets one, and she gets two. A double takeout. That was my fault that you did not see that. I had you on the away camera. I needed the home camera. But a good double by Hildebrand on that one. So now Baudry will go after the wall rock. So far things are quite open, which teams often like to do in the first couple of ends. Looking over on sheet number 1 between Buchalter and Hayward, it appears that they blanked the first end. Yes, that's exactly what happened. They blanked the first end. And now the shot by Baudry, and it looks to be right on. The hitting seems to be very strong for these teams so far. They've had few errors, and when they've had an error, they've recovered by making a double or a good hit and roll. So it looks like we might be in for a good match tonight. Now this is Ginter's. And also pretty well off center, and it will be rolling out the side. So we'll have to see what Baudry calls now. She goes straight to the 4-foot, so no messing with the guard, no trying to force the issue. Just getting comfortable with the ice in the game. So this is a call for putting it at the top of the 4. Weight looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit deep. So we're going all the way to the back of the 8. But Wall's only option would be to play a freeze or to try to do a guard if she wanted to be aggressive. But at this point, just going for the straight hit. There's been a bit of a tricky spot earlier on as it curls hard towards the center. And that has happened again. Same kind of scenario. Curling very hard, getting caught on that one. She may have been a little tight as well, but we've had 2 now in that similar spot on the in-turn where it's gotten away on him. So Baudry has a chance now to put a little pressure on. And she will, looks like she's calling for one kind of in the same line. Maybe she was looking for a guard at the top of the house, but it's also running a little bit deep. And it goes all the way to the tee line. So this is, again, a nose hit double if they can get it. And now Piper Stace will have her shot at it. This one's more on the outside. Now it's coming hard. And they get the hit and the roll away, but they're getting fooled by that spot, as earlier on in that shot they were sweeping to curl, and it didn't take long for them to switch it over as the rock seemed to jump on them. Just curling hard, it seems like, even with good weight and good rotation. So Beaudry now has a chance to, again, put the pressure on. It's hard to tell from the angle whether that blue hung on. Nobody looked at it very carefully, but this camera angle would tend to promote it in towards the house, so it could well be out of the rings. And this looks like a perfect guard in the rings, but as far away as you can while still counting. So that's an excellent, excellent guard by Cassidy Dundas. Both these teams curl on the junior circuit. Beaudry is one of the top teams in the circuit, and that's despite the fact that they're curling against teams that are 21. This one goes past the front and manages to catch the back. So that's a good outcome, because now Beaudry has to replace the rock in the house, and that's a little bit more complicated than just putting up a guard. But certainly Beaudry still has the pressure on Wall at this point. So you can see the curl on the ice as they're taking ice pretty well in the middle of the 12-foot to draw in, and then the opposite full 4-foot. And that's the way that you want it. You want it that there is opportunity for burying rocks, and there definitely is enough curl for that. Sweepers are laying off of it so far. It's fairly wide, but it can dive in a lot at the end, and now it is. And they'll sweep it to get it a little bit across center. So almost buried, maybe leaving a third or a quarter of rock. Certainly accessible with the right weight. Wall is indicating hack weight. When you tap your foot like she did, that's the indication for hack weight. And so this will be Wall's first shot of the end. Okay. We'll take a look at the overhead camera. Now it's coming. Looks like she is playing hack weight, so let's get there, sweeping hard to curl. This one not coming over as much as they had hoped, I think. But it is enough to remove the rock. So good weight control by Wall. That's exactly the weight you want to have, so that you have the opportunity to get some curl if you need it, and hold it if you have to. Certainly needed to curl a little bit to get to a piece of that rock. So Beaudry will attempt to replace the previous shot or make it even better. If she does bury it even more than she did, and she has the opportunity in terms of how far she was by the guard the first time around, that will put a lot of pressure on Wall. And here comes the delivery. Looked on the broom from here. Certainly not inside. The rock staying out there quite a bit. Just cleaning it. Now it's starting to curl quite hard. Not as much weight as the previous one, I don't think. It looks like they might be more at the top of the four. And that is the case. So this one's a little bit more wide open. But again, you will have that guard in your vision. Wall will when she gets to the hack in your line of sight. So Wall will be forced here. She has no opportunity to blank. She has no opportunity for two. Her play is to hit the one in the forefoot and stay for one. So not too many opportunities for putting up a crooked number at this point. Here it comes. They're sweeping it. They're off a little bit. Now they're sweeping it to curl. They're sweeping it to curl. Trying to get a good piece of that rock. And they did not. They only got a short piece. So that will be two for Beaudry, a steal of two. And that's how easy it can happen. Just putting it a little bit behind the rock. It seemed like they were happy with where Wall threw it, because at one point they didn't really sweep it to curl at all, so they were waiting on it. But I'm not sure if they had a little bit more weight than they were thinking. That's how much of a difference it can make in a shot like that. Just put on a little bit of extra weight, and all of a sudden you don't catch the curl, and it doesn't bend in like the first one did at the end. So Wall will be down 3-0 after two ends of play. There are no strangers to having to battle back. In a number of their games this week, they have been behind the eight ball, as it were, and have battled back into the game and won. They gave up a 5-1 and ended up winning that game. So they're battlers. I guess it would be nice to put up a 2 for them. And, of course, Beaudry, for them, they would like an end where they could force Wall and get the hammer back. Looking over to sheet number 1, pretty clean game over there as well. Basically putting it in the house and hitting it, not too much up front. And after two ends of play, Hayward has a 1-0 lead. So Beaudry again electing to put it in the house. And now this time Wall appears to be calling for a corner guard. So Wall would really like to get a 2 in this end to get back in it. But it's a long game. Can change very quickly. So there's a good-looking corner guard. Pretty tight to the rings, which is what you want when the ice has so much curl. Now, Beaudry can't hit the rock because it's a guard position. That's the 5 guard zone rule. So she can't remove it, so she's looking at what else she can do. So she initially said, well, maybe I can draw behind it. Sometimes the teams in this situation will draw behind the corner guard, but just leave it half buried. Kind of cuts off the path for the opposition to get one buried. Lots of ice, though, calling for it from the edge of the 12 with the outturn. Sweeping it a little bit here to curl. Now they're both sweeping. And in the house and in the open. So they probably would have wanted that a little bit further over to the left so that there wouldn't be the possibility of this hit and roll. So ice right on the center line. Looking for Hildebrand to remove the Beaudry rock and hopefully get a roll further to the outside behind their corner guard. Definitely going to make good contact here, just a matter of whether she's going to get a roll or not. They sweep it to curl at the end, but could not pull it over at all, so basically just replace the rock with a nose hit. And now Beaudry will attempt a similar shot. Looks pretty good. Definitely going to make full contact and hang around. Roll to the right a little bit, but not enough to get behind their possible guard that they have. Give you a little view of the house now so you can get the sense of the depth of those rocks. So that's what Wall is looking at right now, playing the hit with the second Ginters. Kind of outside of the rock, actually not going to hit too much of this. Luckily she had good weight, so removed it, but there was no possibility of sticking around. So now Beaudry has the opportunity to hit, because it's the end of the free guard zone. So she will play a hit off of Wall's lone rock, the guard, and hopefully she would like to have it roll over towards her other rock. And they removed it, but didn't stick around at all. So back to a fairly simple game of one rock in the house. And let's see what Wall wants to do here. Sensing that there's not much opportunity for getting things to be on her side in a complicated way, she's just going to go the simple route and hit and stick. Hope for a miscue from the opposition in order to have a possibility of getting two. Sweeping this one all the way down and on the outside and rolling away. So now the house is entirely clean. And that'll bring the third Cassidy Dundas up for Team Beaudry. And she's got the rock on the edge of the 12, or the broom on the edge of the 12, hoping for something in the house. I'm sure she doesn't want to toy with the idea of putting up a guard and give Wall a chance to get something going. Again, she's got the advantage right now, being up 3. They're sweeping it fairly hard, but it looks like it will make it in the house easily enough. And it goes right to the tee line. So good weight control for Team Beaudry. Now Stace will have an opportunity to play the in-turn hit. They were on it right away, but it looks like it's going to be on line and fine. Looks like it's basically a nose hit as well. Little flop to the left. Okay, so Beaudry also played the hit, and Wall will do likewise. Looks like this one's a little bit wider as they're sweeping hard to try to get it to curl. Now it's coming over, but it probably won't stick around. No, it rolls away. Won't change much in terms of, it's kind of an error that doesn't cost you a massive amount. It just means you don't have any more opportunity to hope for an error from the other team. So if you're going to have a half shot, it's kind of in these situations that you want to have a half shot. On the other hand, you want to start feeling like you can get something going soon. So now Beaudry also hoping to just pay one in the ring somewhere. Doesn't want it to be short. If you leave it short, that gives Wall the opportunity to possibly go for two. And again, it's a good thing to note to yourself as a player that being heavy is not a big error. That's not going to cost you in a huge way. But being light could. So just got to make sure about what your tolerance is. And Wall will just, I'm going to be talking to the coach a little bit before making this shot, deciding on the shot. I don't know if they'd be discussing different options at this point or just talking about future strategies. It's not too many options really with this rock. I mean, unless you're somebody who thinks they can make the perfect freeze and put it on top of the rock, and that's got to be your most difficult shot in curling, is to have the perfect freeze, because you're off a little bit, and it's an easy takeout for the other team. So anyway, they will go and keep it clean. So they're probably just talking about maybe something that Keith Stace noticed about what was happening so far. Maybe he's giving them some advice about how to maybe generate a little bit more potential for a deuce. Certainly here now the goal would be to blank this end, unless you get a very uncharacteristic miss from Beaudry. So this one's catching the curl. It's a matter of, do they have enough to stick around? And they do. So that's good. It changes the angle a little bit for Beaudry to shoot at. Just if she's hitting everything down the center, then you want to move it a little bit. So Beaudry will play the out turn in. She seems to prefer to go with the turn that is generally straighter, as opposed to when you try to shoot towards the wings, then it tends to curl a little bit more. Getting her a little refocused. And now comes the shot. You notice with all these players, delivery is so smooth. They've been coached well all the way through their junior program. This was not. Now it's coming in nicely at the end, and she hits it dead on. So that's an indication also of the curl on the ice. It's pretty consistent. It's pretty reliable, because she was off that rock by a little bit, about halfway down the ice. Maybe hadn't been on the rock at all at that point, hadn't been getting a piece, but just curled in nicely at the end. So even with takeout weight. So now Wall will be looking for the blank. This is a hard type of blank to throw, especially when it curls a lot. Ideally, you'd want to hit it on the outside so you don't have to roll away as far. But it's very easy to stick around on these. Now they're sweeping at it, hoping to get it to roll away, and they do. So good blank by Wall. So with me right now is Quinn Hildebrand, who's one of the people that are organizing this event. And first of all, from an organizing standpoint, how's it going? I know I talked to you earlier in the week about something, and you said, I haven't even seen very many shots being thrown.
That's true. It was busy at the beginning of the week, those first couple of days with transitions and getting things all lined up. But I've got to watch a lot of curling in the last probably 36, 48 hours because everything's going smoothly. We've got great volunteers in place, and there's been no fires put out. It's felt pretty good.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. That's what you'd like to hear. Now, you're a longtime curler yourself. What do you see in terms of, what do you notice in terms of the games that you're seeing and the quality of play that you see?
This is exceptional U18 play. I am really loving the on-ice coaching piece. Back in my days when I was curling juniors, you weren't learning as you went. You had to wait for those timeouts. You had to remember how an end set up so you could debrief later. These coaches are able to give some feedback to some kids right in the moment, right? And it's what I appreciate is the curlers can turn and ask for the advice when they need it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent move as well. When you think about the nuance of strategy, especially in curling, there are so many things that you're trying to consider, and to not be able to talk to the person that could tell you exactly or teach you in that moment, and you have to talk about it later, that's a hard thing to do.
For sure. Every scenario is so different, and to have that other set of eyes and experience to help you out as you're learning the game at this level is certainly an advantage to these players.
Now, getting to the Altona Club itself, of course, I think it's a challenge for many curling clubs, and especially maybe the small rural ones as well, is to keep the curling going. And I know that they're doing a number of different adventures in Altona to try to get those numbers up and get the participation, because as you and I know, it's a great game that you can play for an entire life.
It sure is, and we're trying to start that really early on. Our program obviously has produced some really great curlers with the Zacharias, Bergman girls, Bergman boys, as now onto this team Wall. And what a neat program to take over from a Sheldon Zacharias, a Keith Stace. But we've got 36 junior curlers playing this year, and then a little rocker program starting in January where we have 14 or 15 kids signed up. So we're trying to get that longevity of the club, and hosting events like this open those kids' eyes to what could be possible for curling in provincials at this U18 level. And Curl Manitoba is really going after some U15 play, and I would love to see some of our local kids hopefully get involved with that in the next couple of years.
That sounds great. So Little Rockers, what age group are we talking
Our
there?
Little Rockers are grade 1, 2, 3, and a couple grade 4s in there. And then, so there's, 14, 15 of them. And then the junior program is mostly made up of a bulk of grade 5s and 6 kids and a few older grade 7 and 8s.
Wow, give them that age group some rocks on the ice. That must be some interesting times.
It's fun when you get all 36 of them out there. It's a little bit busy, but we've got some great club members that come and help us out and help them learn the game and the skills that are involved.
Yeah, and with that age group, like you say, the energy is there, but also is the reward is there because the feedback is usually so good from them.
For sure. And on note of that, we have Team Wall that comes out weekly to help with that. And I think seeing those girls and the success that they've had is something for our juniors to be able to strive towards.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. We think about the Team Zacharias, and you mentioned the Bergman girls too. Peyton was here volunteering earlier. Mackenzie came out, and Emily came out to throw out the first rock. So they understand and give back.
They sure do, and it's so neat to see. My own kids, as well as some of their friends this week, have had posters up in the walking track cheering for Team Wall. There's been some of them that have been cheering openly for the teams that they led during their opening ceremonies. That was kind of cute this morning. I saw one of them, and she just secretly said to me, "I'm not cheering for Wall, I'm cheering for the other team." And
yeah,
because
happens.
that was who she had led out in the opening
Right.
ceremony. So it was pretty cute to see that, a neat way to build some community around the game.
Well, thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for all you do. I appreciate also working with you. Whenever there's a question, you're always so quick to respond. So I appreciate all the work that you do and the effort that you're putting into this as well. A very successful event.
Thanks so much, Dennis.
Well, and as we talked, maybe we need to do that more. Wall has had a chance to build a little bit of an end here. Oh, no, actually, so I'm wrong. I got the wrong colors. Wall has an opportunity with a corner guard, but Beaudry is plugging it up quite heavily. So we are now to the second stones by Ginters, looking to remove some of the yellow granite that has accumulated here around the forefoot, and they are sweeping to curl. They have an opportunity for a thin double if they get enough of a piece, not that amount of piece. So probably another inch or two. That would have been a really good shot. But that would have been a hard one to call, so they were looking to get more of the, maybe doubling up the back one. So now there are 3 Beaudry stones inside the rings, including one that's behind the corner guard. Although that could be beneficial for Wall if they were able to get one frozen on top of it, even on the edge. So now Beaudry was hoping to take out the guard, I imagine, and she missed the guard and just moved hers over a piece. So that wasn't what she was hoping for. And we're still in the last of the second stones. So now Wall is calling for a hit on the Beaudry rock that's in the forefoot, and hopefully to roll behind that center guard. They're sweeping against the curl, so they want to roll, but it looks like they're just going to get just off nose. So Beaudry has an open hit. She just wants to keep things simple, not give Wall an opportunity to go behind the corner guard. So if she hits and rolls this away, I would think that's what Wall would try to do. They're definitely getting a good piece of it. And rolling off to the corners, off to the wings. And now Wall will likely go behind the corner guard. And that's her opportunity. It's always a little bit scary when you see all those rocks in there, but if your goal is to get 2 and you have confidence that you can make that draw at the end, then this is a play. Okay, they're holding off the sweeping so far, waiting for it to catch the curl. Looks like it's got a little bit much, and it's just going to squeak past. And if that had gone behind and had been second rock or second shot, that might not have been too bad, but as it is, it slides all the way back and is fourth shot. So that's going to be tough to make that one count, given how many shots are left. Now they're electing to get rid of that corner guard. That's really the only thing that could give them trouble. And this one is also on the outside edge and will go past again. So Baudry is having trouble eliminating the corner guard and peeling it both times, flashing it. So that gives Wall the opportunity to do the same thing again. Looking for Stace to get behind the guard, buried in front of the yellow and shot rock. So partially on the corner. That would be ideal, so that it could not be removed and it would be shot rock. And with the curl on the ice, that is definitely a shot that is there. They're close. If the rock has enough to get here. And that looks perfect. That is exactly what you would call it. So you got the shot rock. There's no way to remove it now, at least at this point. And that forces Baudry to try to do the same thing, except her shot will be even more difficult. It'll be more difficult to get around and on top and be shot rock, especially the last part, to be shot rock. And of course, she can't afford the bounce either. She gets to the blue and bounces off the blue because she's a little heavy and rolls out into the open. Then it hasn't accomplished anything, at least not what she wants. Looking on sheet number 1, looks like Hayward has Buchalter in a little bit of difficulty. They have a guard up and one behind play. I'll see if I can show you that situation if we have a chance to here. So this is Baudry trying to freeze to the other rock. It looks pretty close. It's a little bit on the outside. Is it going to bounce off? It does bounce off. So that's exactly what I was talking to you about, is that just that little bit of touch, that little bit of bounce right away changes the whole effectiveness, I guess, of that shot. Now, this isn't an easy shot for Wall. She will have to do much the same thing, but she needs more weight because she needs to remove it, or at least to push it back far enough so that she could be sitting first and second shot. I'm assuming that she's finished, that she is second shot right now. I'll give you the overhead view of this one to see if we can have a better look as to which one is shot. And they're going to call for a little bit of a timeout or a little bit of a coach's conference here. So I wouldn't say that you can be definite that the blue is second shot, but if I had to pick one, I probably would pick the blue, especially if you look at how far it is inside the 8 foot. Not the way you're really supposed to think about it, but that would be my guess anyway. And we'll, since we have a little bit of break with the coaches, we'll flip you over to sheet 1 and show you that situation, as right now Hayward is counting 3. And I think we're on the last rock by Buchalter. And she has a difficult rock shot, as she has to get rid of 2 stones in order to count. Here she is coming in on those 2 stones. She's on the outside one, and she rolls away. She rather wanted to hit that on the inside, and that will mean a steal of 2 for Hayward. So there will be up 3-0. So similar scores on both sheets. Hayward up 3-0 after 4, and Baudry up 3-0 after 3. All right, getting back to our game on sheet number 3. Okay, we'll see this one coming in. Wall's getting ready in the hack. Big shot here is if she could sit and stay in the same spot or just flop in a little bit. That would put a lot of pressure They're on it right away. It's close. It's close to the guard. Oh, they left it just a little bit too long. I think they had it, but got caught by underestimating the curl a little bit. It was a great release and shot by Wall, basically exactly what you wanted to have, but we just lost the line a little bit. So easy to do. So now, Beaudry has an opportunity to, again, it's to leave it to a force and to make Wall make a hard shot to even get one. This is a little skips things for me, and it's a personal thing for me, but when I have a shot like that, I always feel like the miss is to be 1 inch past the guard rather than to be 1 inch on the guard. So maybe you don't get the ideal line, but you try to. But again, I think it's so easy on this ice to think that you're okay, and then you see the curl happening, and by the time you see it start, it's a little bit too late. So very close to the perfect shot, but that's the unfortunate thing about curling sometimes. If you're an inch away, that doesn't do you any benefit. So it looks like Beaudry is going to put one on the left side. Let's switch to our camera so you can see what the situation is in the house. There it is. So she's putting one on the left side. I'm not sure if she's just going to a straight guard. She is over curling, I think, to get more than one. And so really that guard won't do much at all. So Wall does have a chance, I think, for 2 here if she can remove that rock. Again, it's hard to tell which is shot. But even if hers is not second shot, there is a possibility she could clip out that black-yellow one and get 2 as well. She just hit it a little bit off nose. So a chance for 2. So that's what they wanted. And if they can get that right now, that will be a big boost, I'm sure, for the score and for themselves as well. Get set in the hack again. Seems to be her routine. And a lot of skips have that, a little routine that they go through so that they can just settle the nerves a little bit, regain the focus. They're sweeping on it right away. It looks pretty good from what I can see, which is behind a bunch of people. Hit it on the nose, so now it's a matter of whether that other rock is a second rock or not. And I think it is because the opposite team, Beaudry's team, eliminated as well. And so that's 2. So that's a big score for Wall, especially at the break, to get them back in. So joining me now is Mr. Derek Wall. Welcome here, Derek.
Thanks, Dennis.
So you have been in charge in this event of taking care of the volunteering. And I imagine it's always a little bit iffy at the beginning, and then there's a little bit of an avalanche at the end.
It is, especially when you have an event around the Christmas season. There were a lot of people that were waiting to see when they would be busy and whether they'd be available. But the nice part about hosting events here in Altona is that you have people who come out for almost every event, whether they're connected to it or not in some way. So we were lucky to have people come through, and then you can almost always rely on people coming in at that last minute to help you when you need it.
That's right. And by the way, your name, same last name as Dana. Is there a connection?
There is. Dana, she would call me uncle. I'm her dad's cousin, so I've known her since she was born, and I'm happy to see that last shot come through the way it did.
Yes, of course. Now, also growing up from where you were, and this is kind of an interesting story, the Hauptstadt Curling Club comes into play in a lot of these people's lives. It's an opportunity for people to play at a very young age, so you were probably a part of that scene growing up in that area as well.
Absolutely. When you curling is just sort of was a part of your life when you grew up in Hauptstadt. What was really nice, I think, about the setup there is that they had a lot of opportunities for young kids to get into curling and curling with adults. We all know that maybe having your parent teach you something isn't always the person you listen to the best, but having general community members around that can teach you curling was nice. Everything from 4-H bonspiels to a general kind of community bonspiel that became a open bonspiel well before that was common. So there were a lot of opportunities there.
Yes, I would agree with you. I know I've coached a team as well, and I said, I'll coach your kid. Why don't you coach my kid? That definitely works out well. And it's amazing. Like if you think about Hauptstadt, like the size of some of the bonspiels that they're able to put on in the past, given the number of people that they're drawing from. So absolutely, it was just sort of a fabric of that community, and one of the things that's sort of lasted through, and you see some of that come through in who's curling here in Altona. As you know, Hauptstadt is still is hosting curling, but as we've seen the sort of the population decline around there, you do see some of those people who grew up there being integral parts of the Altona Curling Club and some other places. Yeah, and a lot of names from Hauptstadt, not that they just curled, they also curled successfully, including your dad. Absolutely, yes. He has me beat on that for sure with a couple of trips to the provincials with Jerry Papel as the skip. And I mean, it's part of the reason that I'm involved in curling. Well, a big part of it is I spent a lot of my youth going to different curling clubs and sometimes being allowed upstairs and sometimes not in those things. So more often getting the lower level watching seating than I did upstairs. But it was you develop a passion for that kind of a sport when you grow up with it and see your parents and see their friends and see everybody in it. Yeah, it really is a good family sport. You don't need a lot of people to do it, to make it happen. And it's a good social sport. It's one of the rare sports that you can actually visit with your teammates and the other teammates, but not while the skip is in the hack. Yes. And, really, you can curl with anybody, Dennis, just like you and I did when I was in high school. He'd come in and be my lead when I needed somebody, so always appreciated that. Yeah, that was great. And one final thing about this as well, you've also had the opportunity as coaching Zacharias and the Bergman girls and seeing them be successful. You probably have a better idea than most as to what it takes for them to reach the level that they did. I think especially with those names you mentioned, I got to see what they needed to put in to be really successful at the levels they were able to achieve to. One of the things at a high school level with the programs that I would coach is we were kind of that middle ground that where people that were really aiming to go high in curling would curl there, but often that we'd mix them in with people who were more learning. And so it was a great opportunity to just help these people learn together. I joked with actually both Peyton Bergman and with Mackenzie Zacharias today about how my job wasn't to teach them how to curl, it was to teach people how to curl with them. Very good. Well, thank you for joining us. They're back on the ice. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Derek. Thanks, Dennis. And now the fifth ed is underway. And like we said, Wall, a big two coming at a big time just before the break. Definitely is huge to get back into this game. So we will now take a look at what's happening on the far side of the sheet. Again, it'll take a little while to render or buffer. Looks like there's just one rock that I can see from here, but it's not the best vantage point. Yes, it's just a wall rock that's on the top of the 12. So they will not hesitate and ask for Tessa Tarek to take it out. I think if my memory serves me, that Tessa Tarek names actually comes up as a former champion in the U18s, as she played second for a winning team from, I think, a season or 2 seasons ago. So now, Wall electing to ignore the Baudry rock on the corner of the sheet, on the edge of the 12. And setting up a corner guard. You have 4 ends left to go, but they'll need to steal or count another 2 in order to get even with Baudry. They're still a little bit behind because they're down 1 without the hammer, but certainly that was a big 2, especially the way that it ended up happening. A couple of good shots there, including the draw around the corner guard to freeze back to the Baudry rock. That was a huge one by Stace. And now, interestingly enough, Baudry will ignore this. And again, this is the idea of the free guard zone, so they cannot hit that guard at the top of the, or 10 feet above the 12-foot. So they have to do something else to come up with a rock that is beneficial. And at this point, they're not going to do the corner guard. They're just going to try to beat them in. And that's the other way to do it, too. Best defense is a good offense. That's kind of what you have to think about in this situation in terms of, do you want to be the first one behind or do you want to chase them? I went a little bit further than they would have hoped. So Ginters does have an opportunity to bury their rock. There's lots of room, it looks like. Now it's starting to come pretty hard, but I think they've got room around, so it's a matter of weight. Now they're sweeping it to curl. They'd like it to nestle onto the yellow, perhaps. And that is exactly what it does. Just pushes it back a couple of feet. So that's a good rock. Although Baudry's looking at accessing the rock from the outturn. So Evison with the takeout. It looks like she's a little on the narrow side and will get rid of the guard, which probably is the miss to have. That Baudry won't mind that at all, that the guard has been removed. She has 2 in the house as well. So she has the opportunity to score for more and keep it simple. Wall also will elect to try to replace that guard. Maybe make it a little bit better because as it was before, their rock was accessible. So now she's hoping to put a guard that covers their rock entirely. And maybe a little bit tighter, too. And this one over curls. Yeah, it's a guard in this situation is really tough because she was well out there to the left of the center line, but the last 3 feet it just goes sideways. So it is really hard to get a guard and not to have a situation where it just goes away on dying weight. So Baudry has an opportunity to remove the blue again. Now again, here you want to hit this one on the inside. If you hit it on the outside, you'll just be putting it back onto your own. They're not laying a brush on it so far. She might remove both. And no, she does stuff it on her back one. And they both stay in the 4-foot. The good thing for Baudry is that their rock is shot. So that means Wall will have to make a play on it. Now she's calling for a hit. She's hoping to get a hit and a roll behind the corner guard. That would be the ultimate shot. Even if she would not save her last one, that would still be a good outcome. Well, they hit and rolled away, so that's okay, though, because she did eliminate the shot rock. And I think if they wanted to hit and roll behind the corner guard, they would have had to play less weight. But that would have been a very tricky shot to try to keep it off their own in the back. Much simpler just to hit half a rock and get rid of it. And Cassidy Dundas now will be playing the hit with the rock right on center. And hit, and just to roll a little bit to the right, but not behind the corner guard. So that gives Wall the opportunity to perhaps take a shot at going behind the guard. The way it is right now, if they just exchange shots, then Beaudry will count 2, and that's certainly not the outcome they want. Now, Wall has elected to go for a draw, so she is planning to draw up to it. The Beaudry rock is behind the tee line, so that does give the opportunity to do such a shot. All right, they're staying off of it. No sweeping so far. Now they're brushing it a little bit more. Looks like it's pretty close as far as line and as far as weight goes. And just over curls a little bit. Perfect weight, perfect weight. It is a little bit tucked behind the corner guard, so they're going to have to be careful with this one. But ideally, it would have been the same kind of angle, but on the opposite side of the rock. But that was so close. That's probably one where if you had swept it early, you might have been able to hold the line, but it's so hard to tell with the weight and everything else, that all those variables. So here's the shot by Beaudry, and they do make the hit and roll away. Nudged their shot rock back a few inches, which would make it even a little bit easier to freeze up to it. But again, you're getting down to the point where you are kind of risking giving the other team an opportunity. But on the other hand, you've got to put the pressure on because you are in the situation where you need to make things happen. So if you look at that ice that they're taking, you can see it now. They're taking it just off the 8-foot, a little bit into the 12-foot, and they're trying to get all the way to the opposite side of the 4-foot, basically about halfway into the 4-foot. So that's a lot of curl for a rock. And when you get into the hack, it's sometimes hard to look at something like that, and you just got to believe that it's actually going to curl. And you'll notice the first one that they had actually over curled by maybe a foot. So they probably adjusted it a little bit, although sometimes it's different with the different curlers. They probably know this after a while as whose rock has a tendency to curl a little bit more depending on release. No curling yet, or no sweeping yet. Now it's starting to come pretty hard. Pretty close, but maybe will it be able to stay for a shot? Ooh, no, I do not think so. I think yellow is shot. So again, just so close to the perfect shot, and that's what makes the freeze so difficult. It not only takes the perfect weight, good line, you also have to have the sweepers recognize exactly how far it's going to go, and they have to communicate to the person holding the broom where it is, and all of those things have to work together to have that perfect freeze. And really, this rock was so close. I mean, you can just see just on your screen, 6 inches over to the left, and there is no way that Beaudry's removing it. So now they're going to hit it out, probably okay with hitting theirs out and rolling away, so just picking it out of there, or they might also be okay with hitting it and getting rid of their back one, although that would be a little bit harder in terms of where the corner guard is. They're really, the only thing that's open to them right now is probably the left half or left 2/3 of the blue rock. So they sweep it hard right away off the release. And they look like they might be on the inside. Let's see. Yes, they are. And they roll away. Now, interesting situation for Wall here. Their second shot, they would probably, the ideal shot I think would be to, they're looking at maybe nestling one in there. That would be a good shot as well if they could do so. They could also hit the yellow and roll away a little bit, but that's also a delicate shot. What you don't want to do is give Beaudry the opportunity to score 3 or 4 on her last shot. So you got to put this rock somewhere where that isn't a possibility. So they're discussing it now with Coach Stace about what might be the best option. And this is again what makes curling a very interesting sport to watch. I have to say, honestly, as much as I love watching hockey, if there's a Jets game on the tube or on TV, and there's also maybe Einerson playing Jones on a different channel, I will probably watch the curling. Even though I have Jets season tickets. I have to say a story about when, as we're waiting here, when we came back from our vacation, then I finally was getting everything cleaned up and getting back into the routine, and I finally had an evening where I could just sit down and relax. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to watch a Jets game, and I look and I go, yes, they're playing Dallas. I can just relax and watch the whole game. And then about after the first period, I thought to myself, I have tickets for a Dallas game somewhere. And yes, it was for that game. So I watched it from home instead. All right, here's the shot by Wall. Big shot as she's playing the draw, hoping to nestle one in there. Now, if she misses and is short and puts up a decent guard, that's not going to be bad either. They're not laying a brush on it, though. They need it to come over. At least a little piece of it. Yes, that's a good shot. They are sitting 2. Now the question is, can Beaudry remove both of those blues? And I think the opportunity is there if she would kind of hit it, as we say, in the crotch, which would be basically hitting it both rocks at the same time. Or hitting at least close to that. She probably has a little bit of room for error there. If she hits the outside rock too thick, then she won't be able to remove the rock that is shot. And if she hits the rock that shot too thin and misses the other one altogether, that would be a disaster. But there's an opportunity for her. Now they're looking at which way they want to approach it, from the in-turn side or the out-turn side. So a big shot here. I don't think a 4 would be in play, but even a 3 would be huge if she could manage to remove both of those stones in some way. Beaudry in the hack. She just finished throwing a takeout and was a little tight. Last shot here in the 5th. And there it is. They're sweeping right away. It looks like it might be a little bit on the inside, similar to the last one. And it is. It is. Wall will steal one. So they dodge a big bullet there. as Beaudry had a chance to basically put this game a little bit on ice, getting a 3 or a 4, but same kind of thing that happened as before. Overcurled, and again, the miss probably would have been to hit the other rock. So both teams having a little bit of trouble with the rocks on the takeouts, overcurling a little bit. And the coach Guy Beaudry seems to be having a good discussion about that. You can see him pointing towards curling and maybe talking about overcurling. Of course, like he always should do, is after a timeout, is end things on a positive note. And they gave a little bit of fist bumps and probably said, we're still in control of the game. We have the hammer, and it's even. So let's focus on those kind of positives. And I'm noticing on sheet number 1 with Buchalter and Hayward that Buchalter has a few things going. They're down 3-0 after 5 ends of play. Actually, they blanked the 5th. Right now, Buchalter's got 2 that are shot, including and a third one that's behind guard. And so they have something going as well. Maybe you'll switch over there so you can see some of those final stones in that one. They've got 3 stones to go, so maybe we'll see the skip stones in that one. Here in ours, our game that we're featuring, Beaudry is attempting to go around the corner guard that Wall just threw. Looks pretty good. Looks like they have a decent shot, and you can see it totally buried right behind. And I will show you the Hayward situation. Hayward has just made a very good stone. It looked like they were in trouble, but she may have hit the shot to get out of big trouble as she hit and rolled behind cover. Meanwhile, on our sheet here, it's sheet 3. Wall is attempting to go around both those guards. So here's a situation that you see with Hayward. Hayward, of course, in this one is yellow and leads by 3. It looked like Buchalter had a good end setup, but that shot stone that you see, the one that appears to be shot in the back of the forefoot, that was a hit off of a rock by Buchalter on the right side of the forefoot, rolling behind cover in a perfect situation, in a spot where it cannot be moved, at least not in one stone. And so now that's forcing the hand again for Buchalter. And here they come in. They got around the front, kind of nudged the back one, and didn't really change too much. It doesn't make the shot by Hayward any more accessible. So they'll probably be facing a tough shot to get their 1 on their last shot by Buchalter. So they did have a good setup, but so often happens, somebody comes up with a perfect hit and roll, and that changes it dramatically. In our situation right now, Wall has 2 at the top of the house, and I can show that quickly as well. So you can see the 2 blue stones at the top of above the house in the guard position, and Beaudry has 2 behind, 1 buried, 1 a little bit on the outside. Wall at this point is trying to control the front of the house, hoping that she will be able to utilize those guards a little bit later on and maybe pop 1 behind cover. This one is looking pretty good for line. I don't know what the weight's like. Just a little bit heavy. So it rolls right out the back. Very close. Perfect line, just a little bit heavy, but she has the opportunity with the rocks up front to make something happen. I'm just looking for that one perfect shot like Hayward had in theirs to put the pressure on. We'll go back to Hayward's to see Buchalter's last stone. Right now, Hayward is just trying to put up a guard to solidify the difficulty in getting her shot rock out of the house. And she has done a good job of that. There is no straight path to her rock for sure. And now it's a question of whether Buchalter can even get to a full 4-foot anywhere. And the way it curls, she probably can, but it's a very difficult shot. Here in this one, Beaudry trying to possibly promote theirs in as well, but similar result, a little bit too much weight. I think they were looking to tip theirs behind, and if it had caught it at half a rock, it probably would have been the right weight. So Wall again indicating to go for the promote, the raise. I believe that's what they're trying. It's a tough rock. She's lining up behind the guard, so she's probably looking for the raise. Raise is always difficult because you have the weight that has to come into play, and you have to have the line as well. This one looked like good weight for a draw. And now she has a couple more rocks in front. And I was going to show you Buchalter's last shot. She's trying to do a very wide draw from the outturned side and trying to come up to the stone by Hayward. And the line was pretty decent, but it's going to end up short, as you can see. Very hard to make that kind of draw. You have to go so far out to the wings. And often when you do that, especially late in the game, it's a little bit heavier out there. So they got caught on that, and they ended up a little bit short. Probably you get that same weight down the slide pass in the middle, and it's probably T-line. Now we're going to see another shot here on our sheet 3. And Beaudry, in this case, racking on the blue guards that were up there. Really, it's a bit of a mess in front of the house. And now the coaches are calling for a little bit of a strategy session. So if you can see that, I'll go to the overhead camera so you can see it a little bit better. But that is a little bit of a mess to deal with. How do you get a rock behind there? If you're the first one to do that and get one into the 4-foot, you're definitely ahead of the game. Right now, though, Beaudry is in control because she has 2 rocks in the house, and they're also in the front of the house, so they could be promoted if the opening came to it. Let's take a look at the situation. 3-3 in the 6th end. So if you look at this, it appears to me that Wall's only way in would be to draw around their left guard. A raise is so much difficulty unless they change gears and go for the hit. That's what they're looking at as well. But certainly the raise is not there anymore. So you could draw around the highest guard for the blue. But she's giving ice for a hit. And I guess what she's hoping here is she's only got half of the rock to see the inside half, so we're going to get a roll towards the center. Maybe if she's gets the right amount, she might roll towards the other yellow that's there. It's going to be close. Oh, just nudged. But she did get a double tap to promote her blue in. It may be second shot, but it's also in a position that could be promoted. Beaudry's indicating that they have first and second. That's what she was showing with her broom. So now she has a decision as well. Am I okay with all this mess in front? How can I give myself a chance to score big without putting myself in any jeopardy of getting stolen on? So let's see what she decides. She's pointing towards the 4-foot on the left-hand side. I think she's concerned about that front blue one for sure. There's a possibility that wall could promote that in a situation that it would be behind several guards, and that would be very hard to remove. So even though Beaudry's counting 2 right now, definitely has to be cognizant of the dangers that are out there and try to manage the situation. She's going to go out and take a look at it, a different viewpoint, and this time her coach is talking to her and giving some suggestions. Grace Beaudry was looking at the possibility of running back the yellow onto the blue. All right, now the draw to the 4. And I can see the validity of this call for sure. If you get one behind there, then the other blue doesn't matter. You're behind cover. It's easier than trying to raise. So if this is made, this will be a really good shot, a really tough shot to get out. It's pretty tight. And I think she's called it early and indicates that there's no way that it will be going in the house. It's just over curling. And she caught that early. That's a good call on the skip's part to know that the shot was not there. So now all again looking at that raise. She could actually raise either rock with a similar result. Probably the rock that she's looking at is a little bit more available. Not brushing it yet. Brushing it to curl now. So they will definitely be making contact. Will they get it far enough? Yes, they will. That's the shot that they wanted. So that's the shot that they were trying to get all along. And a big shot there by Stace to be the first to get it behind. It's in a very good position. There are angles to get at it, but not easy angles. Beaudry's looking at a double raise, a double run back. And if she hits, the second rock is so close to the blue, so if she makes contact to the yellow that's close to the blue, it probably will remove it. So she's not to hit this rock at about maybe 3/4 to 7/8. They're sweeping hard on it. It's curling hard. And it overcurled. It's a common theme in this game. Just so hard, even on takeout weight, it's curling more than you expect. So now Wall, on her first shot, is looking at a way of securing that rock in the 4-foot. It's in a very good position. Now it's just a matter of cutting off all the possible ways, or at least the possible ways that are the easiest to do, and cut those off and prevent them from getting and removing that. Right now, the way it stands, it's easily accessible because they just have to make contact with their rock on the center line, Beaudry would, and they would remove the blue. So they're looking at cutting off that path, maybe a high guard on the center. Have to cover most of the center line. Split the center line would be about right. There are still other angles that are available, but those are quite a bit more difficult. And I also see that double guard in the front. I'm a little bit curious as to where that would end up if they hit that. So there are lots of options there for Beaudry as well. But for sure, the easiest shot is the straight run back on the short guard, and this is what they have to stop. It's coming in here. Looks pretty good, but it may... Is it going to overcurl or is it going to hang on? No. Overcurled. So hard to get that guard in the right position. You've seen the team struggling with it on both sides, and it's just that curl at the end as well. It looks like it's good at the beginning, and then it catches the curl and they're unable to hold it where they want it. So now Beaudry does have basically an open hit, and I mean there are things that can go wrong, but if she hits that yellow, that front yellow at all, it's probably going to remove the blue. Comes out, they're sweeping. This time they're sweeping it early. Now they're off, so it looks like it's going to be okay. Okay, so they removed it and rolled to the right. It is, you know, if I'm not sure if their mind is set on the tapping it behind, but they do have the possibility of just hitting a double with the two yellow rocks there and sitting two. I think that would be available. It's a little bit tight to the blue, but they seem to be intent on going for the steal. I'm not sure they didn't even look at the double at all. I'm not sure whether they're just so intent on stealing, but that would be the safer play of the two. That would be not this end, but maybe next end kind of idea. But if they do get one buried here, of course, that would, again, put the pressure on Beaudry. And sometimes it comes down to a personal preference. If you just feel better throwing the draw rather than doing the hit, then that's what you tend to go for. So here they are coming. They need to bury this. It looks like it's going to go through through the port. Will it stick around? It looks like it will. Oh, and they're brushing it hard to get the back. I would say that it's second shot from what I can see. Yes, second shot. So it does eliminate the three, that's for sure. So, I mean, really, if she's a foot less, that's an ideal shot. And she's put the pressure on. So close to making the perfect shot. This one is a good shot. It takes a 3 out of the play. And Beaudry now will have to draw in between that port for getting her second one. I guess it's possible that if Beaudry was a little bit on the heavy side, she could tap this blue that Wall just threw a little further back, but that would be more of a not a shot that you're calling, but a shot that might evolve if you're a little heavy. He's out pretty wide here. I think they're playing an audible here and going for the raise, because I don't think they were planning to do the raise earlier on. And I think that's what they did. I don't imagine they would have called that, but that's what good teams do. The third recognized it right away. Cassidy Dundas recognized it right away that it was a little bit wide, and therefore and a little heavy, so she called for the raise. And that will be 2 for Baudry. So 5-3, but now Wall has the hammer again. And a good game here in this one as well. Back to sheet number 1. Hayward is in good control there, being ahead 4-0. And we'll keep you up to date on that one as well. And the teams are taking a little bit of a break. I will as well, and I'll be back in about a minute. So they're down to the last stones in sheet number 1. So we will peek and see what's happening over there. So here we have Baudry up 5-3. On sheet number 1, it's Hayward with a 4-0 lead after 6. I have, in watching the game, the little bit that pieces that we were able to see, it seems like Hayward has just, and Hayward's team has just not given Buchalter much opportunity to get things going. And when they do, they come up with a big shot. So here it does look like, again, like Buchalter has something going. Sitting 2, one of them behind the guard, a third rock in the house that looks to be 4th shot. And, of course, Hayward's playing the hit. This is Hayward's last stone. So she would like to remove 2 would be nice, or to put her rock in a position that's hard to remove, which she could also do if she hit and flopped on top of the one behind the guard. And basically on the nose, very close to eliminating her own rock on the last, which would have, in the back, which would have put the 3 in play. The 3 is still somewhat in play, but that would be a very difficult shot. But definitely the 2 is there. She just has to hit and stick on top of that one, and they would have the 2 for Buchalter. They're looking at the angle for 3. It's there. It's a long way to the back, so she wouldn't have to hit much off of nose to make contact in the back. Of course, the danger is that you could stuff it, and the rock that you hit in the back ends up being second shot. So we'll watch that shot. Buchalter's in the hack. Down 4-0. A 2 here would be the least of what she wants. I mean, the least that she could have and have a chance to be in the final end. They're sweeping hard, sweeping it to curl, so they must be on the outside. That's not where they want to be. No. Oh, they managed to slide it through the opposite way, and they got there too. So it would have been a very difficult 3 anyway. That's probably not the way that they were thinking of having 2, but definitely will take it. And so they'll be coming home without the hammer, looking to steal 2. Let's switch over to our sheet and see what's happening here. Wall trying to use the corner guard, which she has earlier in the week, to her advantage. Quite a few Beaudry rocks in there, so Beaudry's front end of Tessa Tarek and Lauren Evison have done a good job of adding the pressure there as well. And you can see that they have that rock that's biting the 8, and that means that Wall can't use that corner guard, at least not again. A lot of teams are now doing that as a way of eliminating the power of the corner guard by putting a rock in just that position. And now Stace and Wall are having a little conference on how they might set this up so they could generate a 2. A 2 would be what they're after, and then they'd be tied up coming home. Anything can happen in that situation. We've seen a lot of that this week, where teams that have been home tied without the hammer, it's very difficult sometimes to make that final shot. Even if that final shot is makeable, but just a little bit difficult, to make it for the win often increases the difficulty. So it looks like they're going for the hit. See if they can remove a couple of those yellows, or at least one. Looks like it's good if it will stay around. I don't think it's going to stay around, though. They really would have liked that to have happened. And so they made contact with the shot rock as they went across, but the rock stuck around. So the rock that they hit stuck around and is still open maybe by half a rock. And now Beaudry is going to try to eliminate that corner guard. Looks like they are going to do so this time. And slide all the way across, and the peel is made. So opening it up. Good plan for Beaudry. They've got the edge. They're up 2, so no need to have a lot of guards and give Wall the opportunity. But there are rocks in play. Certainly the opportunity is there for a 2 if they can use them. Key in this situation is to get something that's playable and usable. The miss would be to not have one of these rocks hang around. Looks like they're going for the back rock, and they're going to make contact. Are they going to hang around? Yes, they will. Excellent shot, excellent shot. So now they're first and second. So, and it's spread apart. So now it's Beaudry that will be having to chase. Dundas, the third, being called to hit the outside rock on the right-hand side. And they'd be looking to maybe get a little bit of an inside roll so they could eventually get set up for a double. They're getting the inside, just barely. Oh, they did not remove it. They just nudged it over. So again, a big miss on their part on another hit that overcurled. So now Wall actually has a 3 in play. It's a little bit early to be able to make that all happen because they have to make all their shots and hope that Beaudry will not make any doubles in the meantime or hit and roll into a spot that they can't get rid of. So, what's the strategy now? They're all looking and deciding it. And it looks like they're going to, I don't know, I think it looks like the hit is what they're playing. I can't imagine what else they're playing with that ice. Yeah, she's definitely coming out for a hit. I think that rock would have actually helped them, but I can see how doing this would make things simple. And it looks like they have a nice hit and roll flop to the side, so they stay in the house. They actually cover the back rock. So that's a good result. That's a very good result. And now Beaudry will have to decide whether she wants to go for the open hit, whether she wants to maybe run it back and try to get a double. She elects to go for the hit and possible roll. It's a good choice on Beaudry's part. It's the shot that you're making or attempting now is an easier shot. It's open, and there is the added possibility that with a roll, you might get out of trouble. So a good choice on her part. Looks like she's on the outside this time, from what I can tell. Yeah, she hits and rolls away. Which also makes sense when you have the previous one and you're on the inside. The tendency is to overcompensate in the opposite direction. So now things are set up quite well for Wall. If they can just continue to put the rocks in the spot that they want to. I guess the out for Beaudry would be to go around that short guard and freeze one onto the back. But that's also putting the 4 in play, so it's a tough situation for them, and definitely advantage Wall at this point. They're not laying a brush on it. Let's see. That looks a little bit, and it is out the back. Oh, no, it hung on. Okay, excellent. I thought it was going out the back. So good for them, and that's that's an ideal spot. It's not a rock that they can use at all. So this will force Beaudry to play towards the 2 rocks that are lined up. Now she could elect to go. In this case, the safe play would be to go to the run back, hope for a double, and that's what they're going to do. And again, that's the safe play. She's still hoping to somehow keep Wall down to 2 and be tied up coming home with the hammer. The super aggressive play would be to try to freeze into the back, but like I said before, a tick off the guard or something a little heavy, and all of a sudden you're looking at 4. All right. Beaudry in the hacks. And the hack looking to, she definitely wants to remove that stone. The bonus would be to get the back one and double them up. Looks like she's on the outside. It's close though. But no, just past the back. So Wall has a chance for sitting 3. Now the big question, where do you put it so that there's no possibility of a double or a situation that gives Beaudry a get out of jail free card by letting her get out of it? But no, I don't see that. I think because Beaudry's going to want to hit. She doesn't want to give up 3. I think the ideal spot would be the top of the house, or behind the yellow would be fine too, but the top of the house is an easy spot to reach, and Beaudry will want to hit I don't think she'll want to try to freeze or draw to anything. The danger will be to go a little bit deep. I don't think you can avoid all the doubles that are possible, but you're trying to really put it into a spot that will make it less likely. So she's elected to go center line, maybe a little bit to the right of center line, and in the 12-foot would be good. Okay, sweepers are not laying a brush on it yet so far. Let's see where it's going. Similar to the last one. And does it hang on? Yes, it does. So now they're looking at a possible double. They want to remove two or maybe a hit and roll in front. The easy double is actually, I would think, the ones on the right-hand side, although you would be rolling away and out. But that's probably a more likely double than trying to hit the one on the left and rolling across the house. You have to throw a lot of weight. They're fairly flat. So they're going to go through for the double. On this side, I imagine they want to hit the top one on the left and kind of angle it back towards the one in the back. If you're going to try to do it from the right-hand side, you have to hit a very skinny double, which is more complex and more difficult level. So, going to remove one, at the very least. That's the plan, and hopefully two. So Baudry now in the hack. Releases it. No sweeping yet. She's definitely going to be making contact and rolls over the top. Like I said, that skinny double is super hard. You have to hit maybe a quarter or less of a rock to make that one happen. And I don't know if that's what she was trying. She might have been trying just to hit and stay right there. That also would have been a good shot, to hit it and put it on top of the other one. That's a good call as well. But that leaves Wall with an open draw for three. So, how easily things can turn around again. Giving up the two, but coming right back with a three of their own, possibly. We've seen a few draws that are going to the back of the house, so things might be getting a little keen down the middle. And they're shaking hands on sheet one. I didn't see it, but I will say that will be a victory for Team Hayward. Just it looked like nothing was developing in a hard way. So Hayward will be advancing to the semifinal. Again here, not laying a brush on it. Just trying to play the nerves. Will it hang in the back? Yes, it will. You don't need to be at the tee line for that one. You just need to be in the house. So that's a three for Wall. So big development there. Wall now takes a 6-5 lead and will be coming home. And Baudry will have the hammer. And I'm sure I've watched a few of the games by Wall this year. I'm sure any parents or spectators for the Wall team will not be surprised that it's going to come down to the last end and it's going to be close. And people will be nervous. So they're having their last conference with their coaches, in between ends at least. So now the interesting thing again is, how is Wall going to play it? It is, you basically, to win, you're playing for the steal. You know the blank isn't an option. So if you want to win at this end, the steal is what you're going for. But giving up the one, of course, gets you the extra end. And So it's the thing that you play, because if you play for the steal, then you give the other team the opportunity to have some situations where they can probably count two. So in the past, Wall's usually been fairly aggressive in this one, and I understand it, because if you have the opportunity to put one behind early in a good position, then let Beaudry chase. So it's and in a 5-guard free zone rule, there isn't much likelihood that you're going to be able to keep things clean anyway. So here they call for one in the house. Probably wanted it on top of the 4, and that's exactly what they got. That's an ideal spot for where you want that first rock. Something that can't be frozen on, something that's in the middle, and something that the other team might have to deal with later on. So Beaudry, for her part, will put up the corner guard. That's the opportunity to get 2 in this situation. So the hope is to do kind of like Wall did in the last end. Get up the corner guard, get one buried, and then hopefully deal with the stuff in the middle throughout the end to make that one in the corner count. Now this one is quite light, but it does make its way to the corner guard. Probably would have liked it a few feet deeper. Wall calling for a mid guard, center line. So something that's covering the one on the 4-foot. They haven't laid a brush on it either. Looks like it's going to go a little bit deeper than they want, but not bad. Now it's coming over. So a very nice guard. A little bit tight, but that's an excellent guard. And right now Beaudry can't hit it anyway because of the guard zone rule, the free guard zone. So Beaudry is thinking about what she would like to do. Like I said, she can't hit the guard, which means she can't really take a shot at the rock that's in the house either. So she's got the broom on halfway in the 8-foot. I'm not exactly sure what the call is on this one. Maybe she wants to draw through. I'm guessing that's it. And that looks like that's what she's doing. An excellent shot. Although it curls a little bit too far. I'm not sure why they wouldn't have done the out turn, but and here as well, the out turn is probably the easier way to go. You only have to deal with one guard. So Wall calling for hack weight again, as before. There's about a little bit less than half of the rock exposed behind that guard. I'll give you a little different viewpoint on that. So you can see the guard up there that they're trying to get around. Excellent shot. Excellent shot by Ginters as she navigated that guard very well and called it very well and got a nose hit and even a little bit of an inside roll. So now Beaudry can hit, and she would like to open this up. She does not like seeing all these rocks being buried behind the guard, so get rid of the rocks or get rid of the cards, one of the two. And she does. She eliminates one of the front guards, one of Wall's guards. Wall has a good situation, though. She has 2 rocks in excellent spots in front of the tee. And why is it so important to be in front of the tee? Well, if Beaudry has to make a draw on her last rock, if they're in front of the tee, that means she has to beat them, but she also has to navigate going around them. And so if she bumps up to them, she will not be shot. If they're in the back of the tee line, then she just has to get up to it, and if she's heavy, it's still okay. So it's a lot less difficulty in terms of trying to outdraw a rock that's in the back of the tee as opposed to the front of the tee. So here comes a rock. It looks like they wanted a guard, a little bit heavy again, but not a bad result because it makes it very difficult to remove the 2 rocks on the left-hand side. This would be an opportunity, though, to do that if they can hit the rock that's off center on the right-hand side and get an inside roll and nudge one of those away. That would be a big shot for Beaudry, Team Beaudry. And again, Lauren Evison attempting to hit the one on the center. I don't think she's going to get the inside roll. No, basically just a little bit flop to the right instead. All right, looking for the hit for Wall. Stace trying to get the inside roll, and she does. Gets a little bit of a flop. It's a pretty good spot for it. Beaudry really doesn't have too many options for doubles now in this position. She can hit the rock that Stace just threw on the right side to get a double, but then she will roll away. So she's looking at, and she's wondering about it. Do I slash it in there, or do I try to hit and roll on top? If she hits and rolls on top, she will not be first or second shot. So in the future, that might be helpful, but she's kind of running out of rocks to use as well. So she will have to make her move pretty soon and try to deal with some of these rocks that are in play. Of course, the hit is the only option right now. She's hoping to get a little bit on the inside and maybe change the angles a bit. And no, not really. That just cements those two together even more. It does give her the opportunity to slash that yellow in there and possibly remove one or two of the rocks if she had a lot of weight. But that would be a very difficult shot. So now what does Wall do? Probably something that blocks the path to the 4-foot would be what you want. You don't want something too high of a guard because then Beaudry might go around and turn the tables on you. So probably something where that rock just would be ideal. Now, the question is, can you get it to that exact same spot? And that's what it looks like they're doing. They're looking for something maybe at the biting the 8-foot on the center line. That would be a good location because it eliminates the draw to the 4-foot or makes it very difficult. And even if Beaudry were to get around there somehow, then you would still have a short run back on the rock you just threw. So what you wouldn't want is a miss that's going to be in the back of the 4 foot. That would give Beaudry a chance to freeze up to it. This one looks like the weight's pretty good. It's coming towards the house. Corner frozen. And Beaudry wants to look at the run back. I don't know. That's an interesting angle on those. If the run back doesn't help, then Dana Wall could put just another one right beside the one that she just threw. And I think this is the call, is to hit this. The way the angles are set up, if you hit what you see and you hit it hard, you'll have a few blues spilling. Now the question is, how far will they go? She's past the guard, I think. Ooh, just passed. Okay. That was a best result for Beaudry right there. Definitely, as Dundas just narrowly went past the guard, just skinnied the guard, and was able to eliminate 2. And now you can see that Wall is still the one that has a shot rock, but the problem is it is accessible by that yellow that's above there as well, so they have to be careful. So they're talking it over. Derek's nearby. What do you think? I think ideally they want something in the top of the 4 foot again, right? Or like Stace is pointing, something frozen to their previous rock. That would leave the draw to the 4. That's not a bad leave.
Yeah, the danger is that side rock with the slash in. I think that's what they're looking at right now. How do you put it in a good position? It's a pretty narrow spot you're going to, but I think it's the shot you have to make.
Right. You need to have second shot, because you can't leave them this possibility of just slashing it in, right? It's basically a half to a 2/3 rock on the outside, and the blue will be removed. So it looks like they're trying to play something like that. I think actually on top of the 4, or a little higher even, somewhere where that you can't leave an easy double, but you cut off the 4 foot. I don't know what that is. Maybe if I could go out there, just put the rock right where I thought and looked at it for a while, I might be able to figure out that.
I think one of the keys here is to outcount those other 2 yellows when you're coming in, just making sure, try to get in behind there. And
True. You don't want to give up a big. You don't want to give a 2. That's right. You want to steal, but the 2 is the one that you don't want to give up. So you got to have something in here that eliminates that possibility. And again, they're making us all nervous by not even trying to sweep the rock. But it looks like it's got a decent weight. That's a pretty good result, actually. It won't necessarily stop the draw, but I can't see them getting 2 or 3 from this. Can you?
I think that turned out really well, actually. That's because now, even when you're looking at that slash in, you could jam it pretty easily.
I don't know. If she slashes it in there, can she get rid of both blues?
Be pretty difficult.
Like that blue that's in the middle, I can't see that rolling far away unless you've got like Jason gunless and weight.
Right. Yes, exactly. No, I think that temptation is there for her to try it, but I think she's probably thinking I need to get at least rid of one of those blues by trying the shot. But it is a bit risky.
Yeah, I guess I can see. I mean, it makes sense in a way that you still have another shot, right? So you have to get rid of one. So that does make sense in in that way. But you're right. It's risky, is because if you don't get anything out of this,
Yep.
now you're hooped for the last shot.
Yeah, but I think it's still it's the shot. You want to give yourself something with your last, I think, is what you're really thinking here.
Yes, I agree with that. And you might get lucky and slash that middle blue in a place that it's not buried anymore. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see. It's coming down now.
Well, that turned out interestingly. I would say that the blue is still shot, but that yellow ended up in a very good location. So now, yeah, that was an excellent shot by Baudry. Certainly puts the 2 back into play.
Yeah, the decision here is how much do you go for the guarding it? That blue might be accessible around the outside with the right weight too, with as much as the finish is. So you have to look at that.
Yes, exactly. It's not. It's buried in the visual way, but not buried as in the way this ice is. It's definitely accessible. Not an easy shot, especially because they'd be coming down a section of the ice that nobody's played for a while, at least with that weight. So they're gonna. I know that somebody like Jennifer Jones or Anderson would hit that front yellow, wouldn't they?
I think so. You try to just roll over a little bit.
I never would.
Well, wouldn't make the shot even if I called it.
Yeah, because if you go on the outside of it, that's the end, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Anything on the outside, it's game over.
And I think that's
and tipping and ticking the guard, same thing, right?
yes. So I mean, what you're doing here is you're going to make her make a shot, and
Yeah.
with that one, it's pretty difficult to get it for 2. So take the safe play here, take away that run back.
Yeah, it's the best choice unless you felt confident about putting. Oh yeah, even then, they just have the easy run back, right?
Yep. It's coming down now.
And it has a lot. Like if they go to the back and they would get second shot, that's not terrible, right?
Yeah.
And that looks like they're going to get third shot, I think, aren't they?
Yep.
But the thing here is, though, that if Baudry runs the front one back onto the yellow, she's going to have a hard time making her shooter second shot, right?
It looks like it, yeah. I mean, that back blue came back just a little far, but we'll have to watch that with how much weight they're going to throw there.
Because if you look at the amount of yellow that's sticking into the white, and imagine putting a shooter right in front of that, that's probably the best they can get, unless they roll a little bit, but they don't have too far to roll either. So if you do that, and then you compare that to the blue in the back, yeah, that's going to be fairly close. That's going to be fairly close.
It is. It's clearly a time to talk it over with the coach. You can see they're taking their interaction time now, checking in with the people at the far end just to see what the line looks like.
Wow, what a finish, though. And this is first versus first. This is the chance to go to Ontario right here on the line for the Canadian Championships. So
that's right. The Bonspiel continues, but with 2 spots available, it's
it's right.
Yes, the winner is automatically moving on.
So it's not their last chance, but it is their first chance to get there. So it looks like they're had the ice on the edge of the 4. So she's lining it up now. That's where I want to hit. So the natural hit of that will be to roll to the right a little bit anyway.
One of the nice things about this shot is you don't actually have to be too close to the guard.
Right.
With this one, right? It's the guard's not as in play as it might seem from the front because you are trying to hit the outside of that rock.
That's true. And especially if you're using a little bit less weight. She's got to be careful. She can't, I guess if you're going for 1, and that's probably what you're going as a skip. You're saying, I got to get the 1.
Yep.
And if I get the 2, that's a bonus. And I'm not even sure if the 2 is there. So,
well, they jumped it quickly here.
Well, she's
Back
on.
off.
Yeah, now they're off. Now they're sweeping the curl. Sweeping to curl.
It's going to be pretty thin.
Oh, but it will be enough. Just enough. Wow, that was close.
Off to the extra end.
Off to the extra end. And again, for Team Wall, that's not a surprise either.
No, that's been it's been a pretty strong pattern for them throughout this bonspiel.
Yeah, that was very close to a miss, but again, this time the curl at the end was the savior for them. In many of the shots today, the curl at the end has been the one that's caused the difficulty. But the advantage there was that they were coming across the face of the rock, right?
Yep.
So that rock will not slide away like it would be if you were hitting the side of the rock.
Yes.
You don't get that gear action, as
Yep.
Russ Howard likes to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. No, and now it's moving on to the extra. So we'll see what kind of approach everybody takes. It's tied up. Team Walls had some good luck in the extra ends, so we'll see if they can keep it moving, or does Beaudry sort of come through with the hammer?
Playing up to its billing, though, these are the teams in first on each Pool A and Pool B. I know they've met each other a number of times in the junior circuit, and in fact, they also met in the Canada Games, or the tournament to get to the Canada Games, the Manitoba Games Championship. I think Wall ended up taking Beaudry in the semifinal.
Yep. Yeah, played 2 games in a row that day against each other. Beaudry taking the first, with Wall coming back in the playoffs to win the second.
Oh, so the end of the round robin was
last game in the round robin.
okay,
as well.
I see,
Yep.
yeah.
So then, but Wall beat them in the semis there. It was a straight-up semifinal setup there, and went on then to beat Hayward in the finals.
So it'll be interesting to see how these skips approach it. Of course, it's a little easier decision-making for Beaudry in terms of, I got to have some junk, I got to have some guards, I got to have something that gets me to not give Wall an easy open shot at the end.
That's right. It'll be interesting to see how the Wall team plays it. How conservative, how aggressive. What are they going to do with this first rock they put in? You kind of know where that first rock for the Beaudry team is going to be, but where's Wall going to play it?
Well, I think, and tradition would say that she's going to put it in the top of the 4-foot. She plays this fairly, well, it would be the aggressive way to do it at this point. It's kind of what they do in the big leagues. Always try to get one on the top of the 4. But, well, they try to tick, but they
Yes.
and will make the tick probably 9 times out of 10.
Right.
Which is why they have the new rule. So I've said this before as well, that as a skip myself, I always have 2 things. One goal is to keep everything open. And the next goal is to have someone on my team make such a good shot that I don't have to make my last shot.
The goal of a skip in this is not to have to make a good shot.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, either way, not to have to make a good shot.
Yeah.
That looks like an excellent shot. Let's take a look at our away camera to see where that ended up. It looks to me like it would be front of the tee or tee line, right where you want it to be. So great shot by Hildebrandt to get the pressure early. It's interesting, you sometimes, like we've talked sometimes, that it's the skip shots that make all the difference. But even in this situation, I've had games, and just recently, where the lead or the second put the shot in the right spot, and that was the game-winning shot, as in that was the one that counted at the end.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, it changes the end so much based on what these first couple of rocks are. I often think in the televised ones, when you don't get to see those first few rocks, it often that means you can't really see how a game or an end is set up.
Exactly.
So it's nice to see that here. Yeah. Looks like Beaudry came back with a pretty good shot themselves after that first one.
Yeah. So what's good about this shot is that it's pretty close to the shot that Hildebrandt just made, and it's outside, kind of has the angle that if you were to hit what you could see, you would remove the Hildebrandt stone. So that means that certainly Wall can't do anything with it. They're now trying to go around the other side, maybe put another one that's next to their own.
Yeah, it looks like to protect that rock from that side as well. Looks like they're coming in behind.
Pretty close. They might even want to, are they trying to bump the yellow? That's a good shot.
Yeah, very good.
changed the angles on it. So now that slash by the yellow is more difficult. And they still have a shot that's behind. The shot that they just threw is also behind. So if Beaudry elects to play the hit, then they would still have shot rock because they would all roll away probably.
Mm-hmm.
Great shots by Hildebrandt to set it up, and good shots by the lead for Beaudry as well, that being Tessa Tarek. And now this is Lauren Evison with her first rock from the second position. Looking to maybe bump theirs in a little bit into the mess or something on top. It looks pretty wide out there right now, but it comes in hard at the end.
Looks like they're sweeping for curl now.
There it is. A nice shot. Bumped it right into the middle of that pocket. So, this is looking very much like the way they have it on TV.
Yes. Look, a very full button right now with 2 rocks there and 4 rocks in play, all touching the forefoot. Well,
So this is the time where sometimes the skip will say, okay, now I'm going to clear it up. I've got a couple of rocks that are playable, and they have the rock in front under the 4. That's might be hard to remove. But let's see what she does. Yes, she looks like she's playing to get rid of the guard.
probably the play at this point with gives everything set up okay inside the house right now. So you take that guard away, gives you a chance later on the end to be in a good position.
Right. And I don't know, it's pretty hard to tell, but I would say the blue is shot at this point.
Yeah, I think so. It looks like they're awfully both are really close to the pin. But you have that second blue in front of that other yellow that makes you feel a bit better about that whole situation.
Right. If you were to nose hit the front blue, if you had an opportunity to do that at the end, you know that your rock would be the one that would stick around and score. So I assume they called the guard here. Evison looking to guard or maybe put another one in the mess. They're sweeping it over at the end. All right, so they have another one at the top of the 8. I don't know, I guess I was thinking you could hit the one on the left-hand side, but even with an inside roll, you're probably putting it, just wedging the yellow further into the mess, aren't you?
Yeah, it's that side rock is going to be interesting as we come through because it also makes it accessible to makes the frozen rocks on the button accessible too to come off of it. So this point looks like they're going with the front rock, taking it away.
That's a good call. I think if you slash it, you might get the bonus of removing the yellow on the left of the forefoot as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, takes away that danger or a potentially danger rock on the side.
Right, that one's hanging around, and that if that's a rock that you have to beat for the point, that's a tough rock to beat. Well, they're getting a piece of it. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's interesting. So they did get it slashed to that side, but it rolled back in the middle, which I don't know. I think that yellow would still go through there, wouldn't it?
I think it would.
Like if you hit the blue in the front.
With the way that blue and yellow are frozen up against each other, probably gets rid of a lot of rocks if you hit that one hard. So it looks like Beaudry's looking to protect that. Is that what she's doing? I didn't.
Yeah, she's taking ice at the edge of the 8. So again, I think she's looking at some kind of guard along the center line. For her, I guess I can see like if they keep exchanging this guard and slash situation, at some point, Beaudry might make a play on her own yellow rock and hit what she can see, right, and then remove it. Like just nudge the blue out of there. Wouldn't even have to use much weight, just has to make sure that hers becomes shot.
It'll be interesting here now getting to third rocks for the wall team. You know, they tried the same thing again, and maybe, but you're having to play with it a little closer to the rest of the rocks to try to make that same slash with us, and you might stick around with your blue off to the side a little bit too, which wouldn't be too bad, but looks like that might be what they're going with again.
At some point, you might just say to yourself, "We're shot. I'm going to throw up the guard that cuts the in turn. I've already got the out turn cut off to get to the rock and find your way in," right?
Could be. Mm-hmm.
But the thing about that is the guard is so hard to draw in this situation when you have ice that has the swing that it does. It's very hard to get it exactly where you want it.
And I think right now the way those rocks are in the 4-foot, when you have the hammer on this, you're probably thinking that no matter what they do ahead of me, I'll have a shot.
That's true.
To try to get rid of some rocks.
That came very close to again. They were sweeping it. I guess they were worried that they were going to put it onto their own, but that came very close to eliminating that rock. That would have made that interesting. That would have been a big plus for them if they could eliminate that one.
Looks like Beaudry's pretty decisive with the next call here. Broom's already down, and the rock's coming into play. Seems like she knows what she wants here.
Not sweeping this one. Now they're sweeping a little bit on and off, looking for that tight guard right on the center line. And this one might be over curling a bit. I don't know if that will change what Wall likes to do. Sometimes at this point it doesn't matter. You just want to get rid of the stuff in front.
I think so.
Yeah,
sure, it looks like it's going to play down to the skip stones when they're going to start to make some moves within the house to try to shift around shot rocks.
And here's Stace. Looks like she's going to get a good piece. Let's see what happens. And just the way you want it. A good play. Basically peel the guard away. And let's see if she changes her call now. Doesn't look like it. That was basically the same ice she was playing, right?
Yeah, she was pointing at the rocks in the house, so I'm curious if she's going to look to come in there and just maybe with more of a draw weight to try to just move the back blue a little bit. If you do just move it back a little, you could be sitting 3.
Yeah, exactly. 3, and who knows whether there's going to be an opportunity to remove. Well, there would be the opportunity to, because if it moves the blue, it's not moving much after that, right? So then the front blue that Wall has should be able to be angled into the yellow and get rid of at least one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very interesting.
It's interesting that she's going on her first rock for that.
Yeah, often you would wait till your second one, right?
Because it will give 2 opportunities for the Wall team to try to move rocks around within the house.
She's looking to nestle right in there in the middle, it looks like. And she will get a piece of it. So that's a good shot that way in terms of I think that's what she wanted to do. But now if you hit that front blue, don't you eliminate 2 yellows? Or is that yellow going to go past?
I think if you can hit that that blue just on the center side, you could get 2 yellows there. This is where it was interesting to make the call with your first, because now it's does give the Wall team two opportunities here to move rocks around, but she might be able to have some chances to do her own work there.
But even if she like let's say she removes the yellow, and that would move her red rock into a position that would be close, or her blue rock into a position that would be close to second shot, maybe the one that she's promoting, depending on how much weight she throws. What's Beaudry going to do to beat the rock in the back?
That's true, because you still have that back rock that's biting a fair bit of the button.
And in that sense, this rock would be coming, their back yellow would be a hindrance. Well, let's see what happens here. She's hoping to get a
sweeping for curl here.
I think she's got enough of an angle to get it. They're playing pretty big weight, though. Okay.
Takes off two of those yellows. One of them on the biting the 12-foot, but now
that one biting on the 12-foot could, well, shouldn't come into play because she's going to have to stay with her last one, no matter what. Now Baudry needs a double here. That's the only play she has. It's a short double, but she can't be on the outside and roll away. That's the game.
I think her thinking here is you make this double, and if you stick around near that top of that house, if you can roll, or you stay in a spot that makes for a difficult double to stay around for,
right?
With that bringing that outside yellow into play,
yeah, she knows hits there would be a double, but Wall wouldn't want to hit a double to roll away and see what that does. Well, let's see what happens. This is going to be very interesting. This could be the game here as well. Baudry has to make the shot. She has to make a double. It's a short double, but it's a short double on your last shot.
That's right.
And those are always harder.
And with, trying to get that just in that right spot so you hit that back rock without jamming.
Right, because it's got to roll across the button. So you can't hit it on the inside. You have to hit it basically straight back. Sweeping to curl. No. And Wall will win. What an end.
What a great game.
What a great game. It comes down to the final rocks again. And like I said, those doubles on the last one, even on the short, very difficult. Baudry played a great game. Wall made an excellent game of it coming back after a tough start.
Absolutely.
And some great shots and a lot of chances for the spectators to see strategy, to see the idea of how you have to think one or two shots ahead to get what you want.
Absolutely, Dennis. And you can just see how these two teams were well matched throughout. Like you said, the Wall team came back after being a little bit behind the 8 ball, being down 3-0 after 2 ends. But you can see that these two, as I said earlier, these two teams were well matched. It's been great game to watch. We had lots of people here watching. We had the advantage of having a curling rink with a side view. I was up there for a while in the middle of the game, and you hear lots of cheering, for both teams. And just to be able to see how many people are out here to enjoy the game, as one of the organizers, it's great to see.
That's right. Thank you very much, Derek, and thanks for joining me for the last 2 ends, so I have something to bounce the strategies off of.
Absolutely. Happy to help, Dennis.
Okay. So just to recap, that means that Wall will advance to the final, the championship final. They get an automatic bye to the final, and also that means that they get a berth in the Canadian U18 championships in Timmins, Ontario. So that's also on the table for them. Baudry will now play the winner of the other match that we saw earlier on. So they will play Hayward in the semifinal and have an opportunity to come back and possibly get their chance to win this championship as well. And that all is tomorrow, starting at 9 o'clock. And we will have those games here live streamed, but also so much better to come and see them in person as well. Just a lot of enthusiasm out there. The girls are very excited about it, and great game by both teams out there. And I'm sure that we will, good likelihood we'll get to see them again square off in the final. But Hayward also plays strong on theirs. Just also to recap that on the other side, on the men's side of the action, it will be Freeman who advanced to the final. They had a little different setup as they had 7 teams. So Freeman is waiting for the semifinal to take place, and that semifinal is going to be between Team Peterson out of the Heather and also Team Norris out of Morris. So they will meet in the semifinal at 9 o'clock as well. So we will have that here as well. Try to give you a little bit of action from both games. And all of that takes place tomorrow at 9. And then the final of all of this will be set for later on that day. I don't have a schedule in front of me, so check that out. I believe it's going to be 12:30 or 1 o'clock. That's what they usually do. I think it's 1 o'clock. but check that out for sure. Thank you for joining us for this evening of curling. It was a fun time, lots of excitement, and if you have a chance to come down to the rink to see it in person, that's great. If not, we will be here to give you some of the details as we can as well. Thanks again. It's Dennis Friesen signing up for the Altona Curling Club at the U18 Championships in Altona. Thank you very much.